We're getting the freshest possible food and carrying it the shortest distance that we could possibly carry it. The idea is to be growing as much food as we can with these plots of land so that we can provide the healthiest, tastiest meals possible for everyone at Esalen.
I planted an organic vegetable garden on the north side of the Point House in 1968 because I needed instant access to excellent lettuce. Because my boyfriend and I like to throw spontaneous dinner parties. At that time, there was no Esalen garden. There was a big field of wild grass. Nobody was growing vegetables at Esalen.
I came to Esalen 50 years ago, a little less than that. More than anything else, I started to just seriously fall in love with the land. A piece of land with hot and cold running water, redwood forest, ocean, a magical place.
I planted at least half of that space that's north of the Point House. I had several rows of several kinds of lettuce. I made chard soup for Abraham Maslow. Eventually, I was out there working one day and Dick Horan came by and asked me what I was doing. I said, I'm growing some vegetables. He said, how's the soil? I said, it's fabulous. It's like dark and crumbly and, beautiful soil. And so he said, do you think it would make sense to use this field to grow vegetables for the lodge? And I said, sure, great idea.
At first it was just a regular little homespun garden with, some tomatoes and some beans and some carrots and lettuce and squash. But then everybody saw me doing it. And they gave us a bunch of work scholars, people who just wanted to help out. In a few years, it just turned into this Garden of Eden. It was ideal. It's like a paradise for a gardener.
There was no farm. It was just wildland, except for a small pot farm hidden in the bushes. In 1981 or 2, the farm opened up. Bruce Neeb and Steve Harper cleared the land over there, took out big boulders and put in the infrastructure, the water system.
The idea was just to have some ownership and relationship to the land. There was this interest in taking the idea of self-responsibility a little larger than just this smaller definition of self.
We went into this whole sustainability thing. In 1977, the gas crisis in the country, so we need to rely on ourselves.
It felt like to me there was an early renaissance in how come we, not that we are going to grow all of our own food or that we're going to produce all of our own energy. It was more how can we be partially engaged in all of the parts of our lives that make up our life so we know what it means to be alive and be connected to a place.
When I first came to Esalen, I think what impressed me about the land, besides for the luxurious gardening, while you're also looking at the ocean and hearing the waves crash, was just how cared for the soil was through the act of adding our compost that we generated here at Esalen and cover cropping. It just seemed like everything grew.
There's such a richness and a depth and just a beauty to the soil here that you can attribute to not only the way in which it was formed geologically, but also generations upon generations of people that have caretaken the soil all the way back to the Esalen people.
A lot of our indigenous communities, the way that we practice spirituality is through our connection to the earth. That is our main form of divine connection. Plants are for everyone. And we all have a divine connection to the earth somewhere in our lineage. I always say to all my students at Esalen, what a blessing we get to be here, where the four waters meet, the sacred portal of healing. We don't just come for the incredible classes and workshops of human potential, but we come to get healed by this land, by the beauty.
This is a very much a greens eating kind of place. So kale, chard, collards, lettuce, Asian greens. These are the things that are just constantly consumed by the people who find themselves here.
It's fun when I go in there, the salad bar. I'll get the question like, did these vegetables get grown here? I have the opportunity to say, yes, they did. All the gratitude when we bring vegetables in and the walk-in and everyone comes from the back of the kitchen and like, hey, what did you bring in? It's just joyful, you know, to be celebrating one another and to celebrate food. That is the most connective thing.
So we have the goal of creating a teaching kitchen at Esalen to welcome in culinary experts and chefs from the outside to contribute to the Esalen Farm Garden program and really look forward to how we create a magical space for them to utilize what we're harvesting. Having that sustainability with the Farm Garden in the kitchen really allows us to lean more into local and seasonal. It really allows us to develop a menu that is focused on what Esalen has to offer.
All of this gorgeous piece of land is grounding. And then to literally eat it, to have the land become the cells in our bodies, I mean, that's important.
The great thing about the Farm and Garden is that it can mean something completely different for each person that comes through. But in most of the people that I came across, it was something that was very much alive.
I had this idea that it would be wonderful if this incredible property of Esalen could be available to other people besides our wonderful guests who could afford to pay to come and stay. So I met a Kuyo who said, well, I work with underprivileged children in Los Angeles.
When we come, we usually come for 5 days. Sometimes it's 10 of us, maybe 15. Each student must choose an area of Esalen where they can give back.
We felt that it was really important for them to experience what it was like to work there and to experience especially the grounds and the garden.
The sheer beauty of Esalen blows them away. I mean, I've had them come to me and say, I didn't know the earth was this beautiful.
These kids had never really been exposed to anything growing out of the ground. Vegetables came in plastic from a supermarket. For them to experience working in the garden, actually seeing what it was like to pull a carrot out of the ground, it was really wonderful and inspiring.
You got mountains, you got forests, you got water, the ocean. You know, they suddenly feel like, oh, the earth. Yeah, I want to take care of the earth.
I think the thing about Esalen that is really special is that there's this idea that we can show up as we are in that moment, whether that's how I choose to dress that particular day, how I choose to move through this space. My old manager used to talk about someone that used to shout through the garden, I'm having feelings. You can have feelings, they can be loud and you can shout it out. And in the purest sense, that's what the Farm and Garden is.
The relational aspect too of the gardening, and that a lot of people at Esalen were in programs doing like deep, profound, transformational work on themselves and would come out to the garden in different capacities as students and volunteers and just be able to work through a lot of what they were processing.
Farming and gardening here is about community and connection. You know, working the land, tending land, it brings you literally to the ground, like grounds you, and it connects you with others.
The Farm and Garden at Esalen receives so many dynamic and diverse people that are there from all places in the world and all walks of life and all ages. I think what they have in common for the most part is just being seekers.
I think with a lot of trauma, there's this really intense pain with connection to land, especially within like Black, Indigenous, POC folks. Severance from home, severance from land, severance from self. Land is the home. Being able to cultivate land is being able to cultivate a deeper sense of home. So many queer and trans folks are so cut off from family, cut off from source, cut off from earth, and then even more specifically like POC, Black, Indigenous folks. What is healing for everyone, but more specifically people with complex trauma, is creating that healing dynamic with the land. There was so much awe and wonder in seeing the land and feeling the energy and presence of this land that was deeply felt. That was powerful to be able to share that abundance. Working with the land, working with the plants, laughing with each other, getting our hands dirty together. These are all basic human things, and then just being able to do that in a community sense, it was really beautiful.
We talk about how important biodiversity is to the farm and garden and to an ecology program in general. To have that diversity really creates this environment where people can grow, creating a space for more diverse groups of people to come and do work on the land, can add a perspective. Once everyone's out there on the farm and garden, really feeling included in creating something that's going to give back to the community and to Esalen in the long term.
We're the heart of Esalen. People always come through the garden. It doesn't matter what's going on for them. They're joyful, they're skipping, they're happy, they're sad, they just had a breakup. They come to see the bees, they come to see us. It's just this majestic beauty. It's a celebration of life.
Planting seeds, watering it, giving it light, giving it attention, seeing it grow, and then watching people eat that feels continually magical to me, and it doesn't get old.
The whole thing is so wonderful because it's just this constant invention.
What starts as a little seed grows and then turns into something quite extraordinary.
Everything in nature supports me, and so I must also learn to support everything in nature.
I think that the farm and garden saves lives. When you get your hands in the dirt and you get your hands in the soil, you figure out where you came from. You came from the earth, you get grounded, and then you can meet the world, you know?